Okay, so we're just starting with a video and audio check first. Just let us know if you can hear and see. Okay, let's start by let's start just by connecting, tuning into the Satsang.
Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwaraha, Guru Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha.
So this satsang is on compassionate action. So to understand what that means, what is compassion, there has to be a depth of understanding, not just how someone feels, like empathy or sympathy, like whether a person, an animal, plant, nature, the elements in a way. Not just to understand how it feels, like, or what it's going through. That's one level of it. But it's also understanding what their means are, what is their primary goal, and therefore what is required to get to that primary goal. So what are the means to get to that goal? So you have your goal and your means kind of wrapped up together. So compassion is not just like a blind love, like where you just don't want someone to suffer. It's not that you want someone to suffer. But it's not that it's based off of just ignorance. It's not an ignorant love. It's an understanding. It's a depth of wisdom. It's a knowing what the goal is. Let's say that I wanted to, just for my health, just eat healthy only and keep away from negative foods. Let's say after day 1 or day 2, I'm like really feeling the pain of the detox and missing my yummy foods and things like that. Then it wouldn't be necessarily loving of you to, slip me a donut or some French fries or something like that. It wouldn't necessarily be loving. So same thing too, if my goal was to work out and to become healthier, and after day 5 I was really like aching and tired and not really wanting to work out for my health anymore, it wouldn't necessarily be compassionate for you to talk me out of working out anymore. So a lot of people have a confused sense of love, a big misinterpretation of what is loving to another being. First, you have to have the scope of what's happening. If you don't have the, as Swamiji calls it, long vision, if you don't have like the overarching view of things, then you're going to make a lot of I don't want to call it inappropriate, but short-sighted decisions. These decisions may not actually be the best for yourself or for others. If you are functioning from a place of ignorance that you don't see, and it's just based off of love, and you feel for their pain and sympathy, and you don't want them to go through it, and you went through it, that's a particular level of compassion. I'm not saying to eliminate sympathy and empathy, not saying that. But there has to be some additive factor, some clear seeing component must be there, where you're not just trying to like bandage up their pain. Like you don't want them to feel pain, meaning that you don't want to feel pain, you don't want them to feel pain, and so it hurts you to see them hurting, maybe because you don't like the imagery, maybe because you don't like what's going on, and you're trying to stop it, so kind of in a way so that you don't feel pain. That's not loving. That's loving to yourself. It looks loving to someone else, but you're trying to stop their predicament so that you can feel like it's a nicer, cleaner scenario, and now that you can feel happy and joyful that the problem is no longer manifesting. That would not be loving for another being. If you're willing to put yourself into a difficult situation so that they can kind of have, either fight for them or help them or support them through a difficult process to uplift them when, life is kind of down, then obviously you're sacrificing your comfort so that you can elevate another being. The question is still, is what you're doing or the way in which you are trying to assist or elevate somebody actually elevating them? Are you actually helping them? It's a common mistake when somebody's starting the healing journey to see someone else going through pain, and if they're like new to the spiritual path and they haven't gone through a lot of deep processes, they see somebody else having an emotional release and crying, and it's a common thing where they want to step in and erase the pain. They can't tolerate it, they can't stand it, they don't want someone else to, in their mind, hurt. But this is a hurt they've always carried for lifetimes. It's coming out now through crying, through pain, through some agony, so that they can let it go completely, but they must process it consciously. They don't need you to distract them, divert their attention, make them look at something else and not at their pain. Don't tell them something that's just to make them feel better, but for instance, if they're dealing with loneliness, it's not always the best thing to tell them that you're here for them. It sounds like that would be. This is one of those things. If a person is dealing with loneliness, the real goal, let's say, is enlightenment, which is to find infinite completeness, unity, and therefore there is no one to be alone. There's no loneliness. That's a certain type of thing. So for that being, and they're processing loneliness, you don't, go up to them and tell them that, you're with them and they're not alone. You let them deal with the loneliness and get through the loneliness, because once the energy, the feeling of being alone is gone, kind of processed out, then they don't feel alone anymore. Anytime you've gone through any issue without trying to bandage it up, you feel like you've made it through, and therefore it's not like a real problem. Then you see that loneliness is actually an inner state of mind and not based off of whether or not somebody is around you. So to bandage them up and say that, no, I'm always with you, don't worry about it, is not always the best course of action. If there's a person who's not looking for enlightenment, they're not looking for deep healing, that may be a person you have to tell, don't worry, I'm here for you. It depends on the person. It depends on their state of mind. It depends on their emotional, depends on, again, their goal and the means that's required to get to that goal. Enlightenment's a steep journey that is not reached by being receiving infinite band-aids so that you don't have to experience your process. You must go through the pain. If I'm going to work out and have results, I'm going to go through some pain, muscular pain, tiredness, weakness, soreness, and yet I still have to work out. I can't just not because I don't, want to feel pain. You have to go through the pain. No pain, no gain. So you have to go through the pain in order to get there. So understanding what's required for each soul is important. So that's why sometimes even the actions of like a saint can look compassionate in one moment for one soul, and then it looks like the other soul needs the same treatment and they don't get it, and it looks like it's not compassionate to the other soul. It depends on what your goal is. It's kind of a stroke of luck if you're going through something like an inner process, pain or loneliness, or you want attention and then the guru doesn't give you attention. That's actually like a blessing that you don't get what you want, because that would prevent you from processing and getting through the hurdle. So you'd actually be limited in your success in this lifetime because you're getting fulfilled on a level where you need to be starved from it so you can pull those egoic tentacles out that are stuck in you, making you suffer, so that you can get through it and find some clarity and unity on the other side. So what compassion looks like is different per situation. When Milarepa was building the house and told to destroy it and build it again and destroy it and build it again and so on, what if his teacher, who told him to do this, said, "Oh, I see that you're hurting and you're in pain. Don't worry about it. Go ahead and sit down and here, have a nice iced tea." I have tea. Probably not ice, unless it's that time of the year. But like, calm down, relax, no big deal. I don't want you to feel pain. Please, no, don't hurt yourself. Just calm down and relax. Go to bed. Take a nap. Feel better. That's not what his teacher did, because he had to burn off a lot of complicated karma. Your own action, some of it's easy to burn off and some of it's complicated. And not because the universe has cursed you, it's because you've acted in awkward, strange ways in different lifetimes, and perhaps this one, that is more of a complicated karma. It doesn't just go away. You have to work it out, and that requires going face to face with some difficulty. So why else would, without giving any teaching, to Milarepa, just giving him the difficulty of building the house, rebuilding the house, tear it down, put everything, all the stones back to where you found them, which is hard enough to do. How would you even remember where you picked the stones up? You do it mindlessly. Here's a stone, here's a stone. But like all of this is an incredible teaching. So you sometimes crave just simplicity, ease, comfort, everyone to be how you want them to be to you, to give you the attention that you want or you feel you deserve, which that's a universal thing, what you deserve in a way. Not that there's some judger on you, but it's what you've done has got to come back somehow. So whether you deserve it is kind of a part of your own karmic process, your own karmic thing. So then, when you have the long view, you can see what's needed for each soul to go through. That could make the teacher look odd, like I'm sure Milarepa's teacher doing this. I heard that one story was where the wife of the teacher was saying, he's had enough, hasn't he? Like, come on, teach him something after 7 years or something. Like, help him, give him some compassion now, teach him. But that was the compassion. To burn off the difficult karmas required this intense level of physical effort, that without that, you would not have achieved enlightenment, you could probably say. It's probably an honest assessment. It's hard to say, of course, who could predict something like that, but it's likely that it would not have been possible without him going through extreme difficulty. So, most people are not being forced to go through something difficult other than someone that has a personality that's rough sometimes that you just can't deal with, or dealing with a person who's normally dishonest, or a person who's kind of strange in different times, or you have a boss that you don't really like, but you get to go home, you're not around them. And it's not like you're constantly under the pressure of building and rebuilding the home and there's no end in sight. And you're not giving any instruction, and you don't know if your teacher's ever going to teach you anything, and you start wondering, is my teacher even legit? Why they ask me to do X, Y, and Z over and over and over and over and over and over again for so many years? Most Americans, most people, not just Americans, would fail this test if you thought about it. If you go up to we'll say Himalayan yogi, and you ask for initiation, and your guru says, build me a house. Over there, on the mountaintop. It's beautiful. Build it there. You build it, you do it according to spec, and then your guru says, no, all wrong. This is not what I said. And your mind's saying, but what are you talking about? This is exactly what you said. We'd be arguing, right? That's the American style, for sure. It's not just American, it's actually most people style. We would fight the logic. What are you talking about? Remember back then when we were sitting under the tree, you told me you wanted the window facing that way and the doorways this way. And so this is seemingly an unjustified response or new command from the teacher to break it down, redo this whole thing. You messed it up. And then to do it again and again and again is ridiculous. Most people would not last. So that's something significant to think about just that intention, that alignment, that focus, that dedication that I'm going to complete this task. It's very hard to complete any task, as we all know. Just sometimes the task of just get out of bed and be successful that day with your to-do list, sometimes that's too much. You need that nap, you need that chai, you need something, it's just too hard. So we have this way in which we need to be in a process, which we may not believe is compassion, but the universe is always compassionate, it's always loving, it's always good. So that's from that bigger side. I'm not saying that you should dole out the long view by what you think is in somebody else's favor, but it is good to consider, when somebody is suffering, it's not that you just let them suffer and you don't step in. It's our job to step in as a spiritual seeker. Expression, show love, show care, show compassion. It's not to be cold. It's to be warm and loving, but also understanding that there may be a process that you can't do something about. And the idea is to get a good grip about it and see what is compassionate action in the situation. So I'm just pinpointing that because that makes this really a complicated topic. What is really the right thing to do, is what we might say. What's the right thing to do in this situation? It's very hard. Nobody has the answer. I don't have the answer. You don't have the answer. Nobody has the answer. You have ideas about the direction, about the answers. You'll try some out. They go right or wrong, depending. So then that's all we got, really. We learn from our rights and our wrongs, our mistakes. Sometimes what we think is right and total success, we look back, 20 years later after our path, we look back and say, geez, that really wasn't the right idea at all. I totally didn't understand this part of that person's karma. So being a spiritual seeker, you're always supposed to be willing to step in and help somebody through their process. When you don't have long view, you have to step in. You have to help. You have to have some good understanding of how to be helpful, how to express compassion in this situation. But it has to come from a genuine sense of empathy and sympathy. If you have suffered in a certain way and it really has made a mark in you, and you see someone else going through the same thing and you totally relate, that really makes you want to help them because you felt the pain and the suffering, the torment that you've been through, and you don't wish that on anyone. And you see someone going through and you say, geez, this is really difficult. I'm so sorry you have to go through this. That's a loving, compassionate thing to do, to say. You may not be able to fix them or erase the problem or change their life direction, but at least you can sympathize with what it is that they're going through. If you've never been through it, and let's say you have a judgment about a person going through something, be very careful. There's a high degree of likelihood that situation may be coming to you. Once you make a judgment on someone about whatever you believe is wrong, their way of thinking, their way of acting, their way of being, their way of feeling, their way of relating, their way of sitting in a room, their way of meditating, their way of doing sadhana, be very careful. Once you make a judgment like that, you create an energetic kind of process that now you're going to be involved in. You never want to judge because you can't judge. You don't know the truth of anything. You don't know any answers. You know some partial parts of the truth of the answers of things, but that's not enough to say you know it, and you can make a judgment off of that being's future from that. So we always try to suspend judgment and be loving and kind, sympathetic to what anyone's going through, because that's a spiritual seeker's way. So that's what we spiritual seekers, all of us, are supposed to be doing. We try to step in, to do what we can, to do our part. If you notice the lives of saints, often it's filled with a tremendous amount of service, whether it's serving by giving knowledge, serving by giving physical labor, giving their time physically, which sounds good, but they also can't give knowledge if they're busy making you peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, It's a good thing to do, to serve by making soup or peanut butter and jelly sandwiches and giving it to the people who need. But if you did that your whole life and you never dispensed the knowledge, that would be a crime, right? There are some teachers that need to give the knowledge. Some saints, some beings, that they really need to give the teachings, the knowledge. More so than helping others on a kind of grassroots or physical level by giving food or something like that. It's not that they're opposed to it, but there is a bit of a hierarchy where if you really know this much, that's your dharma. You need to give it. If you don't know much and you're in a good state, maybe you need to do some kirtan, maybe you need to say a little bit here and there, but maybe you should be more action-based, physically helping with things. It depends on a lot of things. If you have no connection, then you only have your actions and your practice, to try to gain that level of attunement. So we have a way to be in this world. It should always be with understanding and love. If you have those two things, you have compassion, you care. anytime someone says, oh, this world is just an illusion, what does it matter? But there's no care in it. That's an I don't care statement. That's not good. That's not healthy. That means your heart's kind of broken a little bit. It means you have bad relationship karma you need to deal with. You should care. You should care about the plants, care about animals, care about people, care about yourself, care about others, care about everything, care about the elements. Everything that has a voice and doesn't have a voice to stand up for self, care about the planets, care about the stars. You should care about everything. If your care is so complete, that universal love is so wholesome, then you are there. You are at that level of unity and that graceful, point, so to speak. So there's kind of the cosmic long view of what, compassionate action is. Then there's I don't have cosmic long view, what my compassionate action is, which is I have to step in. It's not just there's karma happening there, and well, that's a part of their thing. Once you, as a spiritual seeker who is compassion in action, that's your job, compassion in action, love in action. Once you are aware of a situation, it is your job to work towards the resolution. That's kind of a big work order, tall work order. You might not be able to do it in all the personal ways because you don't have a gazillion arms. But if you spread the teaching, spread the knowledge, then all of the arms and legs of all the other beings that's impactful for become animated to serve, help, and bring love and compassion. So that's why the knowledge is more important than just your physical action. It's not excluding your physical compassionate action. It's more important because it's the animator, the loving, compassionate activator or animator of all the other souls that can be extensions of you, of your knowledge, of your wisdom and your love. They can be, your hands and feet on the ground that are doing the work that you're wanting to see done, which is being loving and open and compassionate. So once you see that something's going on, even if you notice their difficult cosmic cycle or karmic repercussion system, which is not really a punishment system. It's like if you poured honey on yourself and then afterwards you said, oh, I'm sticky. Why is there all this honey on me? It's not punishment. You did that to yourself. If you pour honey on someone else, you made them sticky. So if you... I could say other things like mud or whatever you want to associate with whatever you believe to be a mess, but whatever you put yourself in or put someone else in, you have that karma to work out. Other people can assist, but at the end of the day, it is really up to you to kind of unwind yourself from those particular karmas. There are certain vulnerable places that you need to be in charge with taking that off, so to speak. You need to deal with your parts and clean yourself the best that you can. And obviously grace is always there, assisting you, keeping you animated, giving you inspiration, pushing you on. And you're there to help other people, to help clean them out of their mess. So it's not that you become one with it all and then you don't care. You always care. That's why I like to say that statement that you'll hear a lot, no matter who the divine being is, but typically about Shiva. You'll hear that Shiva is always everyone's well-wisher. Doesn't matter if it's a god, a human, or a demon, like a lower kind of being. Shiva is considered everyone's well-wisher. It means he doesn't wish punishment on you. Doesn't wish negativity to befall you. Doesn't wish for you to have a hard time. You may do things that wrap yourself into creating a hard time for your future. And that's what most of us do anyway, to some degree. And that's your own karma to unwind that. You've got to work out your stuff. So it's just helpful to kind of keep in mind that compassionate action, it changes according to the level of evolution that you're at. But love and assistance will always be there. Physically, you may be limited, in what the body can do. But let's say you grow beyond the body and you have the power to influence people to help without talking. you can just send them energy and they start to kind of move in a particular direction and get closer to assisting the soul that needs help. What if the chain of events are altered, where you're still having to go through your process, but now you went from an unbuffered system to like a buffered system. Now you're kind of protected through the process, and yet that being didn't physically contact you or touch you or help you or talk to you. You were moved by their yogamaya, their cosmic body. The idea is that this yogamaya, this is the cosmic body of the Sadguru. So when you tune into that, it's like, oh, well, okay, so I can't go wrong. Wherever I am, I'm inside of the body of the Sadguru, the cosmic body. Therefore, nothing bad can really come of this. Yes, there may be difficult times ahead, or now, or in the past, that are done, but that's all inside of the buffered system. Now, if you're not inside of the grace of the Sadguru, you feel like you're up against a wall all the time, and it's quite difficult. Like you don't have a lot of help. You don't have anyone, supporting you. So, and even if you do have the grace, it's not that you always feel the grace with you consciously, so you may not feel the support, but it's there. That's important to know, that it is there, assisting, helping you. So understanding that is really a key component. You have to know that this, what do you want to call it, God or grace, that the infinite well-wisher, it is always compassionate action. So there's nothing else that it can do. It doesn't do bad things. All good things are happening to you. Even if you have to go through your process, it's only happening for good reasons, for your evolution. So you never want to consider anything that's ever happened to your life as bad. If you're in pretty much any of the koshas, Annamaya kosha, Pranamaya kosha, Manomaya kosha, and even Vijnanamaya kosha, when something bad, quote unquote, happens, something that's not comfortable and not seemingly positively supportive for whatever you're going through, you will consider that as a hard kind of thing to go through, like a mark against your life, or some complication that doesn't seem fair. Whenever you evolve to the point, and being in the Vijnanamaya kosha, there's a lot of levels of conscious evolution. It's not like you're just in a normal mind. They call it the intellect, but it's not the normal intellect. That's Manomaya kosha, normal mind. It could be smart or not, but that's normal mind. The Vijnanamaya kosha is really that kind of higher side. Sometimes you'll hear it being stated as, holding, there's two sides, the Gyan and Vijnan. So different types of knowledge, different types of intellect, whatever you want to say. It doesn't really even matter, quite honestly, but what I'm pointing to is there's another level of your own consciousness, which is the Anandamaya kosha, which isn't where you feel joyful, it's where you feel you are joy itself. That's where you have self-identified. You can feel the joy from it when you're in a lower body, when you feel body identified, or emotionally, or mentally, or in some lower intelligence or higher intelligence level. Spiritual consciousness intelligence level. You can feel joy, you can feel uplifted, you can feel bubbly and spirited and quite nice and happy. And it can feel very transcendental, like you're beyond the normal dictates of mind, body, life, and the normal governance of karma. You can feel like that. But yet, the joy is not what you are. So in the Anandamaya kosha, close to the Atma, it's like the Atma Shakti. So this Atma Shakti is the Ananda, you could say. It's like the Swamiji once defined the Ananda as kind of like the Atma's power. It's like the presence of, the felt presence of the Atma. So it's like the sun. Sun is what it is, but if you were in the sun, would you really even know? Because you'd be disintegrated before you even got there. So would you even know, in a way? You'd be, but without being in the normal way that you'd feel it. But as you approach it, it gets warmer and hotter. You feel the strength, the power, the glow, the radiance, as they say, like the brightness of 10,000 suns. Like, that's inconceivable. You can't even look at one. So what's the brightness of 10,000? It seems like that's an unbelievable power, unbelievable brightness of self. So the Ananda Maya Kosha, that is something that's extremely significant, because when you have entered into, or you have self-identified in being that particular aspect or level of the kosha, anything you look back at in your life or is occurring now that everyone and you would have before perceived to be a difficulty, it is no longer perceived to be a difficulty. You see it with extreme degrees or levels of joy. You see, like, innocence in the most evil people, so to speak. I'm using this as a term, not that I would talk like this, but you would see joy. You would see innocence there. They might not see it, but you'll see it. And that's what actually can melt the heart of different beings, when you see the joy and the innocence of others, no matter what part of the spectrum they're on, emotionally, mentally, virtue or lack thereof. You see the innocence within. You see their deep desire to be happy and truthful beings, even if they don't see it themselves and they act totally contrary to it. So you don't look back at your life and see misery. You look back at your life and you wonder how you ever suffered. That's what it means to be joy. You can't even understand what suffering is in that way. That doesn't mean difficulties won't come to the body. It doesn't mean it won't come to your finances. It doesn't mean it won't come to your home or your, whatever elements are around you. Difficulties can still arise, but the thing is that you'll see the joy in it. If a monsoon comes, you see the joy in it, even if there's some destruction and difficulty. If snow comes, you see the joy in it, the beauty, the bliss in it, the delight. It's so delightful, even if it's really a difficult situation for some people to go through. Earthquake, fire comes, you see the beauty and the joy. You see kind of Ma in it. You see the divine in it, even if it seems to be quite complicated and difficult for people to go through. So that's the thing, is it's a very transformational part of your mind. You don't see negative again. Now, even if you're in the higher levels of the Vijnana Maya Kosha, you can be completely transformed in so many ways on the consciousness level. And yet, when a difficulty comes, there's a part within you that revolts and says, man, again. There's some part of the being that's beyond it, and there's some part that's just reacting to it. But when that sense of self leaves that kind of realm of your own being, the gravity of your own being, and it's in, self-identified, encapsulated, an incarnation of the Anandamaya Kosha, not even Atma, then you look at this life like it's pure joy and love, even though you see the difficulties going on. In a way, you see the innocence of the nice people, the devatas, and the, good beings, bad beings kind of idea, the evil characters, the demons, or whatever terms you want to give any of these levels of expression of the universal mind. But you see the joy, you see the beauty, you see the bliss. You see the other side too, but you see that's not the truth of it. So there's this different way of relating. So, so this compassionate action, kind of to wrap it up, is multifaceted. It's not just be nice to people. Yes, be nice to people. Only a being who's beyond it all, they're still nice, but they can act out of what you would consider is the norm, because what they're doing is, it's like a boon. You might see it as the negative, but it's the boon to get you through some of your own personal hurdles. So it's easy stuff, like some stuff you wouldn't even think of. Maybe you really crave attention, and the person, the Sadguru, which you can't really call them a person, they look at everyone else, and then when you come up to get a personal blessing, they just look off to the distance the whole time, as if it doesn't even matter that you're there. Like, that could be your blessing. The one thing you wanted was to not be ignored. You get your attention, so you got ignored. That's your blessing. So you might look at it like, this is the one thing I didn't want to happen. Why did that happen that way? What does it mean? And your mind goes in a tailspin. Maybe you offer a song and you're expecting some praise. 2 people offer a song, 3 people offer a song, and the other 2 people get praise, you don't get praise. That's your boon. To starve out your need for attention. So there's so many ways it can be delivered, but often that's an easy way to feel the jolt, like the hit. Oh, I wanted the love, I wanted the attention, and I'm not getting it. So the beauty of a Sadguru is that how they interact with you is to give you what you need and to keep you from growing what you don't need. They're your buffer. They're your safety net. They keep you on the right path. So we can't operate like that. You can't just claim one day that you have long view and you can see all that is occurring, past, future, and present. You can't claim that without being a crazy person, who's, needs to step back into alignment. But we, as more short-sighted or at varying degrees of long view, but isn't truly long view, we can only deal with whatever we have. But love and compassion and deep understanding need to be there. So in our sense of what is compassionate action, it's seeing the needs of others and doing our best to help resolve to a certain degree of what resolution would really be. Sometimes physical resolution is possible, other times it's just not possible. Whatever is wanted isn't going to be given. So make sure that fire doesn't get the little guy. So so we have to do our best to step into any type of a difficult situation, bring love, joy, relief, but we also have to be smart about it. So what is the best way to make something work for all people's benefit? And that is a whole nother topic. That would be compassion action, satsang number 2 to, I guess, 100. Probably has no limit. But at least that's kind of the design of the idea. So our job is to feel for anyone suffering they go through, and we have to find a way to be useful and helpful in someone's set, kind of way of suffering. And it doesn't mean that if you help, that it'll fix it. That's something that everyone who applies compassionate action must understand. You may apply your compassionate action and it does not fix the person. You think, well, I'll just apply it another 500 times to this person and that will fix them. No, might not fix them. I'll apply it for the rest of their life and that'll fix them. Nope, that also might not fix them. They also need to they're also required to fix themselves. You can help, but you can't do their work. We all have to practice, which is a Vedic principle, self-responsibility. If we're not self-responsible, then it's not a good thing. There's no way to be self-responsible 100% of the time. Let's just be serious. We're dealing with this thing called the ego, which doesn't understand self-responsibility. It has some idea, and it might not even like it. So it might not even perform it well. But we can do our best and try and grow and evolve through it all. So that's the idea with compassionate action, is that it's definitely a learning process. It's not just a blind lovingness and go help and make people not suffer. That's very actually irrational and immature, and it shows a lot of ignorance, that you don't understand what this world is. I mean, do you really think this is a world where people don't suffer or it doesn't happen? Happen all the time. So you have to get an understanding of what is suffering, which means you have to meditate and contemplate on that deeply. You have to understand and look into the issues in the world. And you have to fight, in a way, dharmically, with or in the best way possible to bring peace, love, unity, positivity to as many beings as you possibly can, to help create an ocean of change, not just change a person, change the whole tides of life. You have to change the rhythm of life. It's a lot of work. Like, for instance, if everyone started thinking negatively and everyone agreed, yes, that's bad, that's bad, that's bad, the whole tide of life changes and it goes lower. But if everyone says, no, forget that, don't think like that, think positive, let's uplift each other, let's help each other, let's support each other, let's boost the world and bring up the world consciousness, then everything rises. So you have the option to be on kind of the part or side of creation you really want to participate on. We can be here in a positive, supportive, loving, compassionate way, and act only out of that, which we can say good things that help to support and uplift life. Anytime you get stuck in negative speech, gossip, or judgments or something like that, just stop. It's not helping. It's not helping you, and it's not going to help anyone else. Anytime your mind is involved with comparisons or judgments or trying to be better than or on top, or that's not helping you. Probably not helping anything, but it's definitely not going to be helping you. And, physically, if you're doing things that are not helpful, it's not going to help. And there's all the inner mind games that people also play, where they try to manipulate situations to make it go in their own way. That's definitely not helping. Even if you get your way, you lose your soul. So that's not the way to do it. You have to find clarity, find depth of understanding, love, and that's really what's significant. Come from a place of real truth and well-being, and not from some space of emptiness or inadequacy and misunderstanding and the negative things that make you do things to get that are just out of alignment. So we'll just have an intention. Since the topic itself is always ongoing, but we can set an intention for it to continue to move in that direction. That may we all have the depths of compassion. May it come through not just our own mind, but our own heart, our own speech, our own physical action. May we do what's appropriate in all situations. Uphold virtue, the virtuous way of being, always. Never let the negative creep in. He has made an appearance. Okay, just take a few deep breaths. We'll have an intention to kind of breathe in and recharge ourselves with compassionate, loving kindness in action. Big, deep breaths. And even though every song, each chant or mantra or shloka or whatever we end up doing, even though everything has its own vibration and intended manifestation principle and how it's there to actually help us, we can have an overarching sense that everything that we do is actually benefiting us, helping us become more empowered by this energy, this grace of compassionate, loving action, kindness in action. What's the first drum? Purnamidam Purnat Purnam
Suki